Good afternoon, everybody. It's Saturday afternoon, isn't it? Lovely weekend. Had a lovely sunshiny morning this morning. I was pretty happy to get out and about in that, I must say. It's been rather cold this week here in Hobart. If you've not seen me or one of my videos before, my name is Tess Crawley. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist based in Hobart, and I'm the director of Dr. Tess Crawley and Associates psychology practice. We have offices in Hobart and Launceston, and we have psychologists and mental health social workers as part of our team. I thought today would be a good opportunity to have a chat about what happens when you've decided, oh, hi Kim, welcome to my video today. I thought it'd be a good opportunity to have a chat about how you actually get to have an appointment with a psychologist once you've decided you would like to see one. So it's actually not that hard. A lot of people assume that you need a referral before you can see a psychologist, which actually isn't true. You can ring up, make an appointment, turn up, pay your money, go home, no dramas. What you won't get is a rebate from Medicare if you don't have a GP referral. So I thought I would talk you through the process of getting a referral from a GP, what that actually means, and what the rebate process is all about, and take it from there. So if you feel like you'd like to see a psychologist or a mental health social worker, oftentimes there can be a little bit of a wait. So I often say to people, look, it's a really good idea to, once you've decided who it is that you'd like to see, ring them up first, book yourself an appointment so that you're already in, so that there's no delays. Then go and see your GP. Now, when you book to see your GP, knowing that you want to have this conversation about a referral to a psychologist, something to think about is booking a double length appointment, because these conversations actually tend to take a little bit longer than the conversation you might have to get your flu injection. Okay, so GPs don't like to be rushed for these conversations, so book yourself a double length appointment. That's number one, and quite important. And then when you see your GP, you can let them know that you've made an appointment with a particular psychologist or a particular psychology practice, and that that's who you'd like a referral to. Then the conversation will be around whether or not you would like to have a mental health care plan. And it's actually the mental health care plan. Hi Brooklyn, happy Saturday to you. Thanks for joining. If you It's the mental health care plan that triggers your eligibility for Medicare rebates from your fees that your psychologist or social worker will be charging you. So the way that works is your GP, when they complete a mental health care plan for you, they charge a specific item number related to that mental health care plan to Medicare. And once Medicare has that on your Medicare record, that item number has been charged, that's what triggers the eligibility for you to then get Medicare rebates for psychology or mental health accredited social work, as a rebate from the fee that you're paying for those sessions. So it's not the referral on its own. The billing of the mental health care plan that the GP does is what triggers your eligibility for rebates for those sessions. So that's a really important distinction and an important conversation. So you certainly don't need a referral to see a psychologist, but you do need the referral and mental health care plan to get those Medicare rebates. Now, some clients of ours choose not to go down that path. Some people prefer not to have a mental health care plan on their record, and there's a number of reasons why people might choose that. And so what they will do instead is they might then either just pay the fee and be done with it, or they will pay the fee and claim a rebate from their private health fund. And in doing that, it's important to be aware of whether or not your fund, whether your policy covers you for psychology or social work. I'm not sure about many of the funds. I don't think many of the funds actually cover social work, but psychology, most of the funds, in fact I think all of the funds will cover psychology, but your policy needs to have that as one of the extras. So that's worth checking with your health fund. Now, the way the Medicare rebate system works is that you are eligible for 10 rebatable sessions or 10 rebates per calendar year. So between January and December, you can see psychologists for as many sessions as you need, and Medicare will give you a rebate for 10 of those sessions. And the rebates are actually quite good. I think in our practice, clients end up being around about $70 out of pocket. So that the rebate is roughly 2/3, I think, or maybe a bit more than 2/3 actually, of the fee. So I'm trying to calculate in my head and it's just not working on a Saturday afternoon. The rebates usually from Medicare are typically higher than the rebates from the private health funds. So a lot of clients will actually use their Medicare sessions or Medicare rebated sessions first. And if they get to the end of 10 sessions within that first calendar year, they will then look to their private health fund for a rebate for any extra sessions. And then beyond that, they can obviously still see the psychologist if they need to, and just not get a rebate. Most of our clients are done and dusted within those 10 sessions. So typically most clients don't need to worry beyond those 10 Medicare rebatable sessions. But we always have psychology interns in our practice. I've talked about that before. Who, for some clients with more complex needs, we will be able to add some extra sessions for free with our interns as an add-on, if you like. So that's not instead of your sessions with one of our mental health clinicians, that is in addition to those sessions. So once you've spoken to your GP and you've got your appointment booked with your psychologist or your mental health social worker, you've got your referral, you've got your mental health care plan, then what you need to do is make sure you turn up. Now that sounds really obvious, I know, but you've done all this work to get yourself an appointment with a psychologist or a social worker, and that's such hard work and takes such courage to ask for that help. The next step is to get there, and that can be daunting, and I really get it. Sometimes we find that our clients just can't make that next step. Now sometimes that's because they're busy and they're not very good at prioritizing their own needs above the rest of the family and work and all the rest of it. Sometimes it's because they're really anxious about what that first session is going to look like. So I think it's really important to be aware that psychologists and social workers, they're no different to me. You've been watching these videos and finding that I don't have horns and don't breathe fire, and neither do any of the other mental health professionals that I know of. And they're all really good people. That's why they're in the field. So it's really important to take that next big step and attend that first session. And then you will find that you've burst through that bubble. The first session for most people is the most nerve-wracking one because you've got so much that you want to talk about. You don't know where to start. You don't know what's relevant. So I encourage people to just sit and relax and let the clinician ask you the questions. And by all means, if you've got stuff you want to get off your chest, you can mention that too. I tend to find the second session is the one where I have a better understanding of how my clients are functioning, because the nerves and the jitters, if you like, of that first session are gone, and by the second session then all that's been, all the scary ideas of what it might be like have been debunked, and then we can knuckle down and just focus on what it is we need to be doing. So when you turn up for your first appointment, you'll have some paperwork to fill in so that we can put you into our system, and some things to sign and things like that. And so it's really important to give yourself a little bit of extra time before your session to be able to do that. So turning up 5 minutes or so early is a good idea. And then at the end of the session, you will be offered follow-up appointments. So I'll speak about what happens in my practice rather than in general terms. Each practice is different, but in my practice what happens is when you ring up for your first appointment, if there's a bit of a delay or a bit of a wait between the time that you call and being able to see the psychologist or the social worker that you've been referred to, one of our interns will then be offered as an interim step for you. So they might contact you either by phone, or you might have a face-to-face session with one of the interns just to flesh out what the referral issues are likely to be, to get some idea of how you're coping while you're waiting, and to offer that little extra bit of support so that while you're waiting for your therapy to start, you're feeling connected to the practice and you're feeling like actually this isn't going to be so horrible after all. You might also, when your first appointment is booked, sometimes if we've got a lot of lead time, or if there's a lot of demand at the moment, what we'll do is also book in a follow-up, so that you've got 2 appointments in the system waiting to go. And then when you've had your first appointment, we will then also book in 1 or 2 extra appointments for you at that time. So you've always got a couple of appointments booked in the system ahead. That way, if something happens and you can't attend and need to reschedule, you're not having to wait weeks and weeks and weeks again before you can come in. Now, speaking of rescheduling, it is really important for your connection with your therapy. So your connection with that relationship with your treating clinician, your connection with a sense of momentum with your therapy, that you settle into a bit of a routine with your appointments. That's not to say that your appointments will be the same day of the week and the same time each time, because that's not always possible to manage in the diary. But whatever frequency of appointments that you and your clinician agree on, whether that's 2 weekly or 3 weekly, it's really important to try and stick to that, so that you've got a bit of a routine, you know what's coming up, you know that you've got a bit of work to do between sessions, so you might get some homework to do, and you know what's coming up for you as well. When sessions become a bit higgledy-piggledy with cancellations and no-shows and things like that, it's hard for you to get any traction, and that makes it hard for you to actually get much benefit out of those sessions. Not impossible, but it just makes it a little bit harder. Now, in my practice, we are increasingly strict, I have to say, with regards to late cancellations, and in particular, people who just don't turn up without telling us. Now, the reason for that is we actually have people waiting weeks and weeks for their appointment when they're first referred to us. Obviously, we've got the intern support first, but people are waiting to be seen. And when people just don't turn up without telling us that they're not coming, we understand life gets in the way and sometimes you just can't make it. But even if you're on the way to the appointment and you've had a kid vomit in the back of the car, or you've had a car accident, or something's happened at work and you just can't get away, ring us, because then the clinician has a chance to spend that time usefully doing something else, and that might be to ring another client and check on them and see how they're going. Or it might be to finish off a report that was urgently waiting to be completed. And the more time we've got, the better chance the admin team have of offering an appointment to someone who's desperately waiting to be seen. So if you can let us know if you're not going to come, we can do something with that time, is basically the bottom line. Now, we've got a no-show policy where if there's no notice at all, we'll charge you the fee. So you will be expected to pay for that session if it can't be used for somebody else. If you're giving us late notice, we have basically a sliding scale of fees depending on that late notice versus no-show. But you get a text message from us 2 days before your appointment to let you know, or to remind you about your appointment. So we do what we can to make sure that you don't forget. And then we just ask that you let us know if you need to change your appointment time, or if you can't make it. Now, when you are referred by your GP, Medicare, as I said, will allow up to 10 rebated sessions per calendar year. Now, that happens in 2 stages. So upon referral, you're eligible to start with, "Hey, Frank," and "Hello, Jeffrey. I've got some more friends talking with us today. Lovely to see you on this Saturday." So when you're first referred, you've got up to 6 sessions to start with. So at the 6th session, if we're still working together, then we write a letter to your GP, just let them know what progress has been made. And if we feel that more appointments are needed, we make the recommendation that another 4 sessions are needed. And then you go and have a chat with your GP about that. And the GP says, "Yep, all good, let's go with that plan. And that unlocks the second block of 4 sessions to make up those 10. Obviously, if you're doing all of this without a Medicare rebate, we'll talk to you about whether or not you'd like us to inform your GP that you're seeing us and and what your progress is, because we like to keep the GP informed anyway. Some clients are referred to us through what we call third-party payers. So third-party payers, it's where you're not paying for it, a third party is paying for the session. So that might be, for example, a workers' compensation matter. It might be a motor vehicle accident insurance matter. And in those cases, typically you still need a referral from your GP, and they will fund those bodies will fund those sessions for you. They often have a limit to how many sessions they will cover, and that's for us to sort of communicate with those insurers and find out how many sessions you're entitled to and what happens if we get to the end of that allocation. Are you entitled to any more sessions? So we will sort of look after that for you. If your insurer then says, right, we're not funding any more sessions, you still then have the option of going to your GP for a mental health care plan after that. So so there's still all those stages of rebates that you can look to beyond that funding. I hope I've covered everything, but that's the nub of it. Now, if you're wanting to know how to find a psychologist in your area, there's a number of ways you can do it. So with psychology, you can, the Australian Psychological Society website, psychology.org.au, I believe it is, has a Find a Psychologist page. Now, we're actually not listed on that page, but that is one option. You have to pay extra to be on that listing, and it's just something I haven't done, to be honest, now that I think of it. You can also, if you're looking for a mental health accredited social worker. Now, notice that I'm specifying mental health accreditation. My understanding is that for social work, it is only mental health accredited social workers who are eligible for a Medicare rebate. That's not to say that there aren't some excellent social workers around that you could see. There are, but they're not eligible for a Medicare rebate if they're not mental health accredited. Now, another really good source of information is the AHPRA website. Now, that is the Australian Health Practitioners Registration Authority, and all registered psychologists are listed on that website. So if you've been recommended a particular psychologist, you can have a look on the AHPRA website and make sure that they're registered before you see them. Psychologists need to be registered as either a general psychologist to be eligible for Medicare rebates, or endorsed in a particular area. Now, clinical psychologists do at the moment attract a slightly higher rebate than the general psychologists. Now, if you're aware of movement within the psychology profession, there is a large range of specialist psychologists. Well, we're not allowed to use the term specialist, but areas of endorsed practice. Psychologists who've had a lot of training, for example, neuropsychologists are limited to the same lower rebate as general psychologists. That's a really political area that I'm not going to comment on or give an opinion on. But we have general psychologists, we have clinical psychologists, and we have mental health accredited social workers in our practice. They all have different rebates. So what we try to do is we try to keep the gap the same. That way you can choose the psychologist you think, or the social worker that you think will suit you best, and it's not a matter of rebates in terms of what you choose. Other sources of information: talk to your GP. So your GP will have some preferred providers, so psychologists or social workers that they've referred to in the past, that they're quite happy with the outcomes that have been achieved. Of course, you can have a look at our website too. We've got a draft version of our team's bios, if you like, on our website now, and they're being updated to they're like I say, they're draft versions at the moment. We just put something up with nice photos of everybody so you can see who we all are, get a feeling of who we are, and we'll be updating those bios a little bit over the next month or so. So If you feel that you need the help of somebody with the feelings that you're experiencing, whether that's anxiety or depression or work stress or adjustment to parenting or any number of things, my big ticket item of the day is just ask for help. There's lots of help out there. There are lots of excellent professionals out there, and they're all skilled in areas that could help you in some way or other. And that's not to say we're all cut from the same cloth. We all have our own specific approaches that might be influenced by the training that we've had or the experience that we've had, but increasingly the psychology profession, the social work profession, and other professions too are getting more recognition for the benefits of the work that we do in the mental health field. So please never feel that it's a silly question. Never feel that your issues are not valid. Always ask for help if you think that you need it, because there is help out there. So that's all for today. I hope you're having a lovely weekend, and let me know if that was helpful information, and certainly let me know if you've got any questions, even if you're not from Tassie. If I can help you, I've got a growing number of fabulous colleagues that I'm in touch with around Australia, so let me know if you've got any questions, and if you're interstate, I will certainly do what I can to find out who in your area could help you if you think that will be of benefit. Something I just wanted to add, if you're watching these videos from YouTube, I'm not quite clear yet on how to switch off the comments on YouTube, but YouTube's not something that I follow closely in terms of notifications, so you're much better jumping onto the website. If you're watching from YouTube, jump onto our website, tesscrawley.com.au, and ask your questions there. We've got a contact us form there, and that's probably a better way than trying to communicate with me via YouTube. Otherwise, of course, if you're watching from Facebook, I've got the notifications come through to my phone quite simply, so I'm looking at those all the time. That's it. Go forth and conquer the rest of Saturday. Have a fabulous Sunday tomorrow, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye for now.